And there's a lot of camaraderie here. I can't lie, especially in the music industry, right? Even though I don't know no rappers, I don't know none. They say I'm cheating on my wife. I'm like, well, who? If you can't equate my wife, nigga, then you ain't there. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share the Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com. I know you like, Nate, what the fuck is that on your head? A do-rag? I'm in a do-rag kind of mood today. I have a haircut. My barber back home. I need to find me a barber here in Georgia until I relocate back home. But as of right now, baby, the do-rag is what you gonna get. Okay. You still love me? I still love you. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, whoa, let's continue reading Bettye LaVette's A Woman Like Me with David Ritz. He was a good man who babysat Terry and ran errands for Mama. Bart would do anything for me. Meanwhile, I was still messing around with Teddy Pimpy Whitey and wildly in love with Clarence Paul. I ignored sister's advice not to take money from one man to give to another. I took money from Ted and gave it to Bart to help us with our living expenses. I didn't see any other way to get by. Professionally, my stock had fallen. I was down to playing local gigs. I was opening for Johnny Nash at Phelps Lounge. I didn't complain because the backup band, later known as the Funk Brothers, was one of the best anywhere. So I didn't know that the Funk Brothers used to play for Bettye LaVette. And baby, that's something that, you could put on your resume. They were the guys who played on dozens of Motown hits and were then led by pianist Earl Van Dyke. Jack Ashford was on vibes, James Jamerson on bass, and Benny Benjamin on drums. The problem wasn't with the music, but with the money. I was paid next to nothing and barely getting by. My mind kept asking the same question. If I'm an Atlantic artist with a solid hit to my credit, why am I starving? Why isn't Atlantic doing more for me? My friends were asking the same questions. They had the same doubts. Had my label in New York forgotten about me? Did they care? Pause. Ooh, y'all. Ooh, I loves the New Edition. Okay? And I loves the Michael Bivins because he is a part of the New Edition, child. But I don't know what documentary I was looking at. Oh my gosh. And one of my people told me that they had a close relation with the ABC group. But let me tell you what they said. They didn't know that it was over until the sneakers stopped coming. You say, what? When Robert West went to New York to hook up with Herman Griffin, I thought that problem would be solved. Mr. West would meet with Jerry Wexler to see whether Atlantic was serious about promoting me. If not, Mr. West would find another major label for me, just as Herman had found 20th Century Fox for Mary. Mr. West was also putting together a tour. All my hopes were on him. The story was that Robert and Herman Griffin had been drinking and began arguing over contracts. Okay, hold on. We know this story from Mary DeWells in reading her book. Let's see if what Bettye LaVette say is the same thing that Mary Wells say. Now, action. Mary Wells and her good Judy is in the room. One of them knocked on the door. drunk as shit. Then the other one came in. There was a scuffle. The two ladies ran into the bathroom. The story was that Robert and Herman Griffin had been drinking and began arguing over contracts. Robert blew a fuse and went for his gun. Before he could fire it, Herman pushed Robert's hand so that Robert wound up shooting himself in the eye. Yep, that's what Murray said. Robert wasn't dead, but he'd never be the same. I couldn't believe it. My manager, my hope for the future, and the man about to send me out on a major tour had tried to shoot Murray Wells' husband, only to wind up shooting himself. How to react, what to do. Now, let's not forget that Murray Wells said that the dude who now got the cock eye, and I'm not making fun of people with cock eyes, because you know me and Lou got a cock eye. According to Murray Wells, the dude had a hard-on for Motown. Like him and Berry Gordy had this rivalry for a long time. And he shot his eye out. That changed everything around because he was dejected. He just got little odd jobs, and I think they said he moved to Vegas. These little old club gigs weren't paying. Without a manager to look after my career, I had to look after myself. If I wanted the big time, I'd have to get to the big time. I had to get to New York. I had to pack my things and put my ass on a plane. Back home, people believe that Atlanta is heaven, the Holy Grail. And I believe the reason why people that live outside of Atlanta believe that Atlanta is the place to be is because Atlanta is full of hustlers and scammers and frauds, check writers, boosters, and so on. I think the people that live outside of Atlanta are enamored with the fact that there are so many hustlers down here. Everybody's figuring out a way to make money. And my number one reason for thinking that way is because it's unless you have like a career job, all the jobs are not really fulfilling for them. So people create their own jobs. Okay. And there's a lot of camaraderie here. I can't lie, especially in the music industry, right? Even though I don't know no rappers, I don't know none. They say I'm cheating on my wife. I'm like, well, who? If you can't equate my wife, nigga, then you ain't there. What she said was that she made a big mistake because like people from back home believe that Atlanta is the place to be. She believed that New York or Los Angeles was the place to be. The notion of when I touch down to New York, a person's going to walk up to me and say, hey, you should be a model, or hey, you should be a writer, or hey, whatever your dreams are, I'm going to walk you to them. She said the reality of it was that when she went to New York, she was fucked up and stayed that way. These days, I tell young people in show business, don't go to New York or LA unless you're asked. Word. In 1964, no one had asked me to go. No one wanted me to go. But me being me, I went anyway. Sister and mama, bless their hearts, supported me in all my decisions. After all, I'd made more money than any of them. I was the first in my family to make $100 in a single day. They saw no reason why I couldn't be an artist as big as Murray Wells. If that meant going to New York, so be it. Bart wasn't happy about me leaving him, but Bart, for all his sweetness, didn't carry much influence. Clarence Paul and Ted White gave me enough money for a plane ticket and a few weeks' worth of expenses. The night before I left, I was at Phelps Lounge where I met a man who would change my life. Miss Bettye LaVette, he said, you're a good singer, but you need training. Who the hell are you, Jim Lewis? And who gave you the authority to tell me what I need? I'm an exec at the Musicians Union. Been around music my whole life. Played trombone for Jimmy Lunsford. I know singing, and especially female singing. You need training. I looked up at this guy. He was over 6 feet tall and spoke with a deep voice. He was in his early 40s. I was 18. Look, mister, I said to him, you're saying I need training? Well, I'm saying I need to get to New York. When are you going to do that? Tomorrow. Fine, but take my card and call me when you get back. I ain't coming back, I said. I intend to make it in New York. First of all, at 18, y'all, I was a hot fucking mess. The biggest. You hear me? I wasn't even ready to leave my mama's house at 18. Anyway, my mama had plans for me. You know, I couldn't go nowhere. I had a little sister to raise. All right, or assist to raise, okay? But I wasn't even thinking about leaving my mama's house. I'm going to be honest with you. I left my mama's house late. I probably got myself together probably the late 20s, early 30s. 18 years old, I damn sure wouldn't have been on nobody's train or plane headed nowhere. And maybe because I didn't have any kids, it wasn't a press type issue for me to leave home. You know, you parents, that shit that that y'all got to do. Hurry up and get the fuck out. That ain't something I had to do. When I arrived in New York, my first reaction was to die in the middle of Broadway. Just lie down and let the cars and yellow cabs roll over me. That's how happy I was. Jerry Wexler and I had some preliminary conversation on the phone, but I had to deal with him in person. I needed to tell him straight to his face that Atlantic wasn't doing shit for me. I wanted Atlantic's best writer-producers, Lieber and Stoller, the guy who did The Drifters and Benny King, to work with me. Jerry Wexler was gracious and saw me right away. He was a highly articulate guy with a sincere manner. She said she got there, and Jerry Wexler was real cool with her, respectful with her, and was kind to her. Now the other dude, what's his name? Ahmet Ertegun. He ain't had time for her bullshit. She said he ignored her the whole time. Okay, Jerry, you could play games with this little girl if you want to, but you know what we got over here, right here. We got Riri right here. Betty, girl. Sorry about West, Wexler said. I like Robert. I hope you've been able to get new representation. I'm here representing myself, Mr. Wexler, I said. You're not promoting me right. You're not recording me right. And you're also not producing me right. What do you suggest? He asked. I want Lieber and Stoller. I feel their songs. I could have hits with Lieber and Stoller. Lieber and Stoller are no longer with us. They formed their own label, Red Bird. But I have another writer, the producer, who I think is right for you. Who? Burt Bacharach. I said, Burt Bacharach? You mean the man that worked with Dionne Warwick? No, hell no. I sing strong and long. I don't want to be around here tweedling and twiddling like no damn bird. No. We ain't in no Disney movie. No. What about this Lieber and Stoller? That's who I told you I want to work with. Miss LaVette. They're gone. They're not here no more. Well, I ain't here no more. Jerry Wexler, being kind and gracious. You sure about that, Missy ma'am? I'm sure. Okay. Tell you what, Betty, said Wexler. I'll tear up this contract. But then I'm going to write you a check for $500. For what? Just a little money from a record man who worries that you're going to find it very goddamn cold out there. Little did I know that Jerry Wexler was right. It wasn't just cold, it was freezing. The next move was easy. I went to see the only person I knew in New York, Frank Cossian, the accountant for Shaw Artists Corporation. That's a booking agent. And they were responsible for booking her at the Apollo, the Palm Cafe, and the Baby Grand. When someone said I wouldn't leave Harlem to go to heaven, I understood. The Baby Grand was the kind of club I'd read about in Jet. Nipsey Russell, not Nipsey Hussle, bitches. Nipsey Russell. Nipsey Russell was closing just as I was opening. Anyone might come through the door. Joe Louis. Sugar Ray Robinson, Adam Clayton Powell. This was Harlem, baby. Sometime after my appearance at the Baby Grand, Frank Cassian took me to Small's Paradise at 135th Street and 7th Avenue. There she saw her friends Dee Dee and Dawn. Not Dawn, D-A-W-N. Dawn, D-O-N. Dee Dee and Dawn made sure that she had a constant night to sing at that spot. Okay, now one time she was there working at the club, child, and she witnessed some high drama. The night an old lady came in the club wrapped in a blanket. She looked homeless. She was wearing hospital-issued paper shoes and a tattered hat with a feather sticking out. Patrons of the club knew who she was and coaxed her to get up and do a song. I had never seen her before and was not thrilled about her singing in my domain. But I had no choice. The people wanted to hear her, and the people were right. Tearing into the song Candy. She was so strong, so frighteningly soulful, that the customers wouldn't let me on for my second set. It was disgraceful, but it was exactly what should have happened to my 18-year-old arrogant self. Out of ignorance, I had not recognized Big Maybelle. But if you're Big Maybelle, you don't get strung out on heroin, live in doorways, and get your career denied for 25 years so some little bitch with a big booty can come in and kick your ass. Maybelle kicked my ass, and with good reason. Not only was Small's Paradise my long-lasting New York performing home, it also became my school for life lessons. The first involved Esther Phillips, whom I'd been hearing since I was a little girl. Esther had an up and down career. She was a big R&B star in the 50s, but she was struggling in the 60s. When I saw her at Smalls, she was hanging out with Irma Franklin, Aretha's big sister. Unlike her far more challenging sibling, Irma was a sweetheart. Esther had been drinking that night and getting high. She and Irma were wearing their little mink coats. I hadn't gotten mine yet, but I was eager to do so. New York is cold in the winter. I joined them at the bar, and men started buying us drinks. We were chit-chatting up a storm when suddenly Esther falls into a junkie nod. Okay, remember I had said earlier that Esther Phillips don't like for people to know that she be on that junk? Okay, here go another situation. Etta told us about it, and now Betty LaVette is telling us about it, but they say that lady will adamantly deny it. I don't know what you're talking about. But you know what I want to know? If Esther doing the boogie woogie, was Aretha Franklin's sister doing the boogie woogie? Because I don't want to hang around no junkie nodding off. That's uncomfortable to me. We talking, and the next minute you doing that dope lean. That's uncomfortable to me. You ain't no fun. I don't want to go out with you. You don't know how to drink a beer and go home. Her eyeballs disappear. Her head sinks down, and her big, fat lower lip practically hangs on the bar. She looks like a derelict. Now I'm all for drinking hard and getting high. I like wine, weed, and booger sugar. But if this is what heroin does to you, I don't want no part of it. Girl, booger sugar will do it to you too. Okay, now, girl, stop it. My need to look good is greater than my need for a drug with a bigger bang. No way am I going to let myself go like that. Esther provided a compelling counter model of what I did not want to be. And no matter how far out there I ventured, heroin was never part of my life. Okay, good for you. One of the first things I learned was the severity of my mistake in leaving Atlantic.